All right, and we are live. So folks, this is gonna be a very quick update video. I did a video 13 days ago. Wow, it's now it seems very easy to do videos, especially when you don't do many videos. So anyway, guys, Happy New Year. I think right now we are going to go through a decent correction. Okay, major correction. Well, you know what? Crypto has always taken the largest kinds of corrections only to go up higher, right? But I think every correction provides the opportunity for folks who have yet to step in. So I'm gonna kind of briefly do an overview on why the correction is happening. And the why is pretty straightforward. At this point of time, it's just majority of countries seeing that there's slight economic improvement. You're having jobs filling up, and at the same time, you're having folks stepping back into the office. Yes, there are still concerns of, different variants of COVID, whether you have the Omicron, you have Delta, I don't think anyone cares too much about the numbers of how many are infected, so on and so forth, because with vaccinations and that's a whole whole spectrum of other stuff. Like, for example, there are folks who feel very strongly against vaccination due to potential heart inflammation, which is true, it does happen. But I think that's not what we're going to be discussing today. Today, I would like to focus more on the overall market sentiment. And the market sentiment that we are having at this point of time is, extremely bearish. Initially, everyone was holding their breath, hoping that, BTC would be at least stable at the $45,000 mark. But clearly, it has broken that level of support. Now, what happens here on and going forward? I feel that right now, since we are gonna see in potential interest rate hikes, that means that borrowing is gonna be more expensive, right? And that is potentially gonna discourage further borrowing, right? And at the same time, if interest rates are gonna go up, that goes to show that mortgage interest rates, especially if you're on variable, could potentially go up as well, unless you kind of taken a mortgage on your home that was on a fixed rate and it kind of bypasses at least the next 2 or 3 years. That in a way you're slightly safe because your interest rate payments will be fixed. But if you're on variable and it's very dependent on what the banks determine, then obviously it's going to discourage, right? Because a large part of the market's movement usually is dependent on borrowing, right? A lot of people, even domestic spending, overall spending is determined on borrowing. And a lot of folks, even companies, are also on credit, right? Money makes the world go round, and having liquidity is extremely important. And I am pretty certain that with the low interest rates that were kept low for a long time, you would be surprised that how much revenue was generated based on debt, right? Which is a good thing, right? Because if borrowing is cheap, you definitely should borrow, right? But only if you know how to put it into assets, or, for example, that a potential your business is going to generate more revenue. Instead of using your own cash, you borrow from the bank. So that's pretty much what's been happening, right? So at some point, that's going to catch up, especially on the risk-on assets, which is obviously the stock markets. That's already starting to happen. Crypto, definitely, okay? Because crypto, a large part of the matrix is always speculative. That is like, it's like quite straightforward, and that includes BTC. So BTC clearly tanked aggressively yesterday, and broke the support of 45,000, right? And this level was kind of like I wouldn't say it's 45,000, more like 46,500. So since that level kind of broke, and I clearly don't see it recovering anytime soon. In fact, I am observing. I haven't been mentioning any kind of buy calls, not even for my private crypto group, right? I was just basically waiting and seeing, picking up small positions here and there, nothing too major at all, just observing the market. And I did mention that the whole NFT metaverse space has to go through a 90% correction, and I think this is the start. Okay, unfortunately, a lot of things have been priced in. A lot of folks have been speculating, hoping to make a quick flip. But like I said, there is more supply than demand at this point of time. A lot of people think that your NFT collection or different NFT collection has a lot of hype. It brings me to the time of when ICOs were very hot, right? Where you would follow a group just because you think that their Discord, their Telegram has booming activity. But like I said, all this booming activity will die down once an actual correction hits in. That's when you start to see the actual fundamentals kick in, the actual development, where the noise just dies down. And as long as the project is healthy, and when I mean healthy, we're talking about financially healthy. We're not talking about their crypto prices. We're talking about the reserves that they have to further and continue development, maintaining overall burn rate, operational costs. Okay, burn rate, of course, means operational costs, staffing, hiring talent, so on and so forth. These are the things that you want to observe. So my immediate quick bets, or at least my plays, or what I'm observing, firstly, I am going to be picking up some BTC because I still feel cash is trash. It doesn't mean that interest rates going up means that suddenly the dollar is worth more, the euros is worth more. No, it doesn't mean that. I just feel that at this point in time, if you can pick up BTC, especially if you're new, if you can pick up BTC below the 40,000 mark, I think it starts to become a deal. And obviously you want it to be as cheap as possible. So I immediately, the key takeaway, I would start allocating funds from my monthly salary and start looking at the prices of BTC. Like say you're completely new, you are oblivious to crypto, and you'll be surprised that every year we have more and more people buying Bitcoin. We have more and more addresses, literally wallet addresses going up. So it's a good thing. The trend is still your friend, guys. And overall long-term trend for BTC is still bullish, no doubt about it. Okay, but like I said, you have to have a plan. You can't just go all in into one position or at one spot. So for example, I think there are a lot of traders that will probably take this opportunity, looking at the RSI, looking at the head and shoulders pattern that we're seeing here. They probably want to either take a position to short the market, or obviously maybe they would like to buy. But I don't want to do any of all those things. I just want to simply have a simple dollar cost averaging plan and build up that BTC stack. So that's what I plan to do. So that's number one. Now the second thing that I do want to take a look at is picking up undervalued, or I would say smart contract platforms that have not really moved throughout this whole period. So the next one that I want to share is Polkadot, right? Polkadot to me has not moved up by much, like nothing impressive whatsoever. Like literally, if you look at the whole 2020, they are like kind of range bound. Okay, which is fantastic for me, because I feel fundamentally Polkadot has just kickstarted their whole ecosystem. As you know, that they have, I think so far, quite a number of parachain auctions, and I think the latest one was Infinity, right, which is by Engine Coin. So you have this development starting to kick off. They are not okay. Firstly, Polkadot is to me not as large as Ethereum. Now I know a lot of people love Ethereum, and they want to see Ethereum go to 2.0. Proof of stake starts to kick in, so on and so forth. But I think, given the fact that Gavin Wood was the one that assisted in terms of the technical aspects of Ethereum, I feel that he would have built a better, infrastructure for Polkadot. Like literally, it's already functioning in this way. There's going to be a lot of focus on bridging and cross-chain development. And at the same time, you're looking at scalability. You're looking at the ability for companies who are building on the parachains, right, to easily communicate with each other. And I think that's one of the things that I felt was important back in the day. But a lot of companies could not achieve that successful bridging, right? So I feel that with so many blockchains in the market right now, you definitely want to have a way of communicating with each other. So my bet, right, my personal bet, like I said, non-financial advice, but my bet is on Polkadot. And I already actually bought Polkadot like at various price points, right? $20, $25, even at the lows of the $10 to $11. This was the region that we were purchasing it, right? For the private group, we have been buying at this portion as well, and during that time, because the market was so hot, yes, we picked it up below $30. And because we kind of saw the rise, and majority of us are still staking Polkadot, because right now the interest rate for staking Polkadot is around 14 to 16. Well, I wouldn't say interest rate, I would say the rewards are 14 to 16%. Depending on where you're doing it. Some folks are doing it on Kraken. I think you can do it on FTX. But I'm just purely taking it via Ledger, or you can actually do it via the Polkadot JS wallet. You can also do that. So given for the fact that if you're having the interest rates being adjusted, borrowing is going to be more expensive, where are you going to go? Where's the portfolio going to be headed? To me, I would still look at fundamentally sound projects, because right now when hype is going to die down, you want to pick up the fundamentally sound stuff. So Polkadot is my bet. It's quite straightforward. That's where my money is going to be. Now, the next thing or the next project I want to highlight is one metaverse project. One metaverse project that I need to look at is Sandbox, right? Sandbox funding is strong, okay? At the same time, when Sandbox, so Sandbox also has a very large ecosystem. So one thing that I look at when I'm considering, because definitely I want to look at big plays. I don't want to be stuck in a play that is very niche. No one's looking at it. At the same time, you cannot quantify the amount of investments that they have received. So Sandbox has received quite a bit of investments so far. Okay, so they have received a good amount of investments from the SoftBank side, but I think it's through their parent company, which is Americon, right? That's the Americon brand, right? That has bought a number of blockchain gaming companies. Okay, so that funding will probably go from there, and from there it will be distributed across the various blockchain brands. So Sandbox is one of those brands. Now, take note, like I said, I think building a position now is highly risky. I do not see the fact of prices holding for Sandbox. That includes Gala, that includes Axie Infinity, Illuvium. All these projects just have to take a hit first. Okay, I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying for a fact that a lot of things have been priced in. As you can see, like say we just look at Sandbox. Sandbox was like what, $1, even below $1. Then way before that, it was less than $1, like less than 50 cents, and then it moved up to $8. So you have to have the correction, guys. It's just very normal. There's, like, for example, if you purchase Metaverse lands. Remember I did a video where the land sales are kind of questionable, okay, where you could potentially be the same guy selling to yourself to kind of create transactions. At the same time, even if you put out the price that it was sold at 12 to 14K, that could clearly be your funds, right? And when Ethereum goes up, naturally, those who have high holdings of Ethereum would also be more than willing just to create that transaction on the platform, OpenSea. And you think that there was an actual transaction, but I feel that the demand is just very, very poor. I also showed you guys that a lot of the accounts that they were selling to are very recent accounts that were created only in December. So let's observe, right, in the next 3 to 6 months, how have those transactions turned out? Are the prices adjusting? If truly Sandbox land, right, is prime land and it's so sought after, and it's continuously attracting brands, then the prices should more or less have a small correction. I would say a small correction is very difficult to quantify at this point in time, because the market just turned hot only in the past 6 months. So there's not enough data to say that, okay, there's going to be a 10% correction, there's going to be a 50% correction. It's very hard to quantify. So we need a few market cycles to determine that. So right now, I'm just observing. Really, I'm just sitting at the sidelines, guys, because I'm excited, because finally my kind of initial thoughts on a correction are starting to happen, right? And since that's happening, that means my thought path is correct already. A lot are already overbought, and it's going to be time to see that whole panic selling, especially from the weak hands, right? Because I sincerely don't believe that everyone who has bought metaverse land has that strong hands. But unless the whole market has changed in terms of education, for example, they are clearly aware that this is a high risk space and they are only putting in money that they can afford to lose. That means there's zero borrowing involved. It's literally coming from, profits or a small portion of your salary, so on and so forth. Then suddenly, right, you have more hodlers. So could that be the time? So I'm observing BTC at this point of time. Even with the current sentiment, right, it's not like immediately it dropped down to like $20,000. You know what I mean? It's like a small correction in terms of price. So as the market matures, right, you're gonna see I think the key point here is that BTC must stabilize. Okay, so folks who are, my 2017 bros, right, you know that we all experienced a 2018 correction from 20k dropping to 30k. 20k dropping to $3,000. Okay, so that's like what, a 70% to 80%? Is it 70% to 80% correction on the price? But nowadays, you notice that you don't really see that. But for speculative spaces, that is going to still be the case. So speculative spaces, I notice, are below the 20 billion market cap. So unfortunately, gaming, metaverse fall in that category. The cryptocurrencies are just still too young, right, to say that they can hold and not take a hit of 80 to 90%. So if you unfortunately bought Sandbox, bought Gala, you bought Illuvium very recently, right, you have to be ready to back up your position. In the event, okay, so firstly, a few prerequisites to this. If you still believe in the project and you still believe that they are going to continue to do development, you need to make sure you dollar cost average into these positions. You cannot just leave it at the high. For example, if let's say you bought Sandbox at $6 to $7, for example, and the price just drops to $2. Okay, let's say it drops to $2. You firstly should not panic sell because you still believe in the fundamentals of Sandbox. You still believe that Sandbox will still continue to grow and continue to improve and attract more members, more players. Okay, you still have to have that thinking. Now the next thing is that you have to set aside funds to dollar cost average through the trial. And I don't see that trial in Sandbox at the moment. A lot of these projects are still sinking in. Because why? The market psychology is this. You think that things will go higher. But like I said, if the overall market is already tightening up in terms of, like I said, through the Fed sentiment, I believe that a lot of other countries, after assessing their overall, economic data, whether is it consumer spending, whether is it payrolls, whether is it jobs, right? After assessing all this, they will determine whether to hike the interest rates or not. And from then, if they decide to tighten, it is going to be a domino effect, right? So everyone is in a way connected. And the very first cryptocurrency that you need to observe is BTC. From then, you start observing what else to do. Now, I know a lot of folks, I'm also going to address another concern that I have. It just came to mind, is the high staking, right? A lot of folks are into the whole DeFi staking, and they are still hunting down the high risk projects with the high APY. Okay, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So I believe these potential Ponzi games, right, will also take an effect on people's savings, and especially those who think that having few thousand percentage or hundreds of thousand percentage APY is legit. No, it's not. You're given back the token itself. You in exchange for that token, you are definitely already staking their token together with Ethereum or together with something of a high value. So that's how it works. So you have to be smart to pick it out. Something that is relatively stable, okay, especially for tokens, right? I would say that a young project, if it's relatively legit, you're not going to see more than 50%. But if you're seeing 100,000 APY, 20,000 APY, right, and it kind of lasts quite a while, it's most likely going to be a rug pull, guys. Like, you just have to observe these kind of things. So I've never done all this kind of stuff because I clearly know that that's the intention for a while. Yes, there's going to be projects that could potentially turn legitimate, but I think the chances of them turning legitimate is actually very low. It's always easier to do a rug pull and just leave with the money, and then kind of try to develop something. Developing something is actually very, very difficult. It costs a lot of money. It's tedious to hire talent and to keep the talent in the project. So all these things are factors that I feel that you have to, be willing to accept the market correction, be willing to accept slower returns. And if we're going to go through a so-called temporary correction, right, it's a good thing because everybody takes a breather. Everybody starts understanding how the space is going to evolve in the next 2 to 3 years. You have to just accept it. So for now, like I said, I think metaverse is still a play, but it has to take a back seat. I feel that right now, what are the key plays? I feel that DEXs are going to step up. I feel that right now, after regulations are kicking in for centralized exchanges, okay, there's going to be a separation where you see the market share of folks who are trading crypto be more dispersed. They are going to unfortunately potentially not be able to use Binance, which is like us Singaporeans, right? Right now, we cannot even use Binance. We are forced to, move to licensed exchanges. But licensed exchanges, unfortunately, do not have the same high level of liquidity, and at the same time, in terms of the infrastructure, or at least the technical aspects, right? It's just lacking. So I feel that DEXs are still important. For example, if you look at Uniswap, you look at Curve recently did extremely well. And of course, you have potentially Uniswap, I would say Cake or Pancake Swap could still be these key plays. But I think because Binance is just taking so much heat from, losing China clients, and at the same time losing quite a majority of first world country members, right? Because right now they are probably like scrambling, trying to get a place, right? Because, Binance has always operated kind of remotely. They don't really have a base that they call home. So it's hard for them to kind of find a place. And right now that truly is happening because Singapore just introduced the DPT license, and it's given to only a select group of crypto services. So it's very hard to quantify who they consider. It's not messy. I guess they have their way of assessing, but right now that's the case. So with that being said, DEXs are pretty important because people will still want to have the freedom to choose what to buy, and they don't want to be restricted. So I feel DEXs are going to be important. Then you have emphasis on the smart contracts. Like I said, I think there are folks who are very big on AVAX, who are very big on Solana. Polkadot is my bet. Okay, so whatever you choose. So Matic is also another potential play consideration. Polygon, right? Because if the NFT space and metaverse space is still going to be continuing, I think everyone wants to move and have cheaper and more competitive gas fees. So Polygon is definitely one of those plays that you want to consider. Same thing, look at the entry levels. I think the entry levels are always important. Fundamentally, if you look at it, everything is still going strong. It's just that everything has to take a breather because, like I said, the whole metaverse exploded. There was a lot of money coming in. Now there's a lot of money going out. People taking profit. It's gonna be quite a bloodbath. But after that bloodbath has concluded, you can start picking up the scraps. So anyway, guys, that's kind of like what I wanted to say. I hope that this video is going to help you guys out in terms of making a well-informed decision about the space. And I'll see you in the next live stream. See you guys.